Welcome to Audio Gyan with Kedar Nimkar, a podcast that documents insightful conversations with Indian designers, artists, musicians, writers, thinkers, and creatives of all types. Catch us on iTunes or visit audiogyan.com for more Gyan sessions. Here's your host, Kedar Nimkar.
Welcome to the second part of Audio Gyan with Mohi, Bahauddin, Dagar. We spoke about Rudra Veena in the first part, its construction, few historical aspects, and its bright future. And we concluded that part with bits of patience as a keyword, which is going to be the next part. It's mainly documenting Dagar sir's thoughts on music. So thank you, sir, again, and welcome back to Audio Gyan, and thank you for giving your time. So this mainly part will try and document few aspects and thoughts about music from you. So I would like to start by asking the most fundamental question, which I've done with design also. I come from a design background, so there also patience is required, which you briefly spoke about in the earlier episode also. So and also in one of your interviews, it's mentioned a beenkar must never be in a hurry. So can you elaborate on that?
See, basically when you come to learn an art form, first you have to understand the craft. You have to be able to master the craft in a particular manner. Then the second thing is to understand how the art flows. The third thing is there are three things basically. In the third part, there are three things. There is you, there is the instrument, and there is the art. And how these three will form in one single plane, coincide, when they come one on top of another, then the art will flow. So, what is the limitation of yourself? What is the limitation of the art? What is the limitation of the instrument? What are the pluses of all the three things? You have to gauge. And that takes a lot of time. First you learn the art, basic thing. Then you try to go deeper into it. And when you start going deeper, then you keep on changing the balance of these three things until it coincides in these three planes coincide in a proper manner, and it becomes one. So that takes about 20 years, I feel. So that's why I say patience is the key, because everything else is information. To put that information through everything is like today we press a button and the box comes out whatever you want, but it has taken years to put that information there. So if you're going to be playing music, you're going to be the person who's going to be putting the information there. That's why you have to wait, because it's natural. Sometimes it's going to be good, and most of the time it's going to be bad. It can be totally depressing. It's not a very happy journey to be a musician. There are a lot of downs and very little ups. So making yourself resilient to all these things. So I think you have to give it a lot of time, and then it starts flowing out. Maturity is one thing also in it. Mind-wise, if you are growing mature, not just by ideology, but how you process that maturity in actions, and then everything starts flowing. Because the word for it is you create the patra, the vessel in which you can contain all this, and that creating the vessel takes time. The rest everybody can play. I mean. Enjoy.
Wow, very beautifully put. Because me and Manish, who's with us today, we're just exploring or touching the flute, if we may call. And my guru in Bangalore, he said at least first 5 years, don't even tell that you're learning.
Yeah.
You're basically listening. And then maybe in another 15, 20 years, you're probably just fine tuning your fingers onto the holes. Yeah. And then maybe you'll start exploring some own expression maybe.
Yeah, so what happens, whatever little you learn, by the time you assimilate that and make something out of it, it grows already. It's like putting a seed. The plant is going to keep on coming out. And to make that plant, in a very happy environment, you have to keep on adjusting it. So you can't go to a next plant already. One rag will take few years, and once you discover that, then you know how other things are working in relationship to this. So Guru spoke absolutely right. It takes time. You have to just give it time, patience. It's difficult in India because Boys get patience only after 16 years. They get some akkal, so they come to learn some brains. Girls do a little bit earlier, but by the time a boy is 21, the parents ask him to make the money, and the girl is 21, they ask her to get married. But earlier, they would not bring out a musician unless he was 35, 40. They would give him 15 years of training and then bring him out. Because whole lot of other things also, the way you speak, the way you eat, what are your thoughts, everything has to be channelized like the way you want to become a musician. You can't think like a actor and behave like a musician and play like something else. No. Everything has to be a single stream of thought. Ek vichardhara has to be one.
Correct. And you have to always be in that satsang mode also.
Yeah,
right?
but that takes time. I mean, how much ever we be in the satsang mode, it takes time to imbibe that and for it to become a part of you and come out. Because there is the seed, and then there is a tree, and then there are the flowers. The seed will represent the style you come from, but the flowers will not be the same. So what is your own and where you come from, both are to be seen. So the moment you play the flute now, after 15 years, they will look at you and say, you are so-and-so student. That means it was a very fruitful journey. So that takes time.
Correct. So is it possible in today's time to play like a traditional Dhrupad or even anything like which is core to the musician and not really appealing to the audience, right? So is it possible? Because there's this two classic school and then there is this pop school, right? Which is mainly YouTube likes के लिए बना रहे हैं, whatever, concerts के लिए. But there is something which is much more pure. So is it really possible to do that?
It is a matter.
And if it is yes, then what goes on in that person's mind?
It is just a matter of being in love of what you want to do with. If you love something, you know, Hindi में कहावत है, गधी पे दिल गया तो परी क्या चीज़ है. If you love a donkey, what does a fairy mean to you? So, but if you love something and you stick to what you want, what you love in, then anything is possible. It's not a matter of impossibility at any given point, this century or any century. Everybody did it because they loved it. And people thought Einstein was mad, but he made E is equal to mc square. People thought Mozart was mad, but he produced such great music. There is a thin line of difference between madness and also absolute brilliance. But if you dare to follow what you want to do, you will be there in some time. And there is no time limit for that. I cannot say you will come there in 5 years or 15 years, but you have to follow your dream no matter what. Then,
no, but in the current time, these keep
doesn't
changing,
matter.
right? Sometimes I'm like super.
Current time you're thinking because now you are in the current time. When your father was there, that current time there was something else was a difficulty. Every generation has to
Have its own
has to have surpass a certain set of difficulty. 20 years I have decided to play that I will play the alap. And now people come and listen to the alap. Now they don't have a choice, too bad. But that's how it is. I mean, you stick to what you believe in and you do it, it blossoms. When a flower blossoms in the garden, he'll be standing out the most. Everybody will want it. I mean, you can always say there is a lot of technology and people are not patient and all, but I mean, it's fine. I mean, what can I do if people are impatient? It's not my call. We all talk about meditation, but how many of us really want to go and meditate? Because once you go into meditation, you don't come out of it. We do it for 10 minutes and say, oh, it feels good. But that is not real meditation. But if you really want to do it, you won't come out of it. It's like you're doing this audio gyan. Why do you do it? Maybe it gives you money, but that cannot be the end result. You know, anything you do for a long time will give you money. If you don't really enjoy doing this, in 2 years you're going to wrap this up and say, "Ye bahut ho gaya, I will do something else."
Correct.
So that passion, if the passion is there, no matter what century you are in, you bring it on.
No, in fact, this I've quoted in multiple interviews also. When I finished my 12 years of professional work, I'm a designer, so I've been doing designing for 12 years. And I was happy कि चलो अभी like probably startup चालू करते हैं, या do something else, right? And then when I reflect back, saying Kishore Yamonkar, 25 years just learning Bhoop or trying to discover Bhoop. Look at the time scale and look at the like time scale which we as the new generation are trying to.
No, we as a new generation have a different model of school and learning. That's why we are at a little bit of a loss, I would say. Not everyone is at loss, because not everyone is capable of doing it. Those who like the other method should go into the Gurukul system absolutely and follow it.
So the point which I was making is, whom do you aspire to be, or whom do you look up to? Like, who are your idols? Or so that's what I was.
Well, if your idols are Kishore Yamonkarji, then it's difficult for you, because she has done 25 years of one rag. It's all uphill. But the joys of rediscovering again and again the same thing, that is what art teaches you. Correct. And to spend time with it.
So actually these questions, the follow-up questions are also mainly after reading your interview on the darbar.org. One of your interviews you mentioned there are no elders left to criticize the nonsense we play. First of all, I was very like nonsense word kahan se aa gaya, but yeah. So how do you ensure the quality is maintained? I mean, in today's time, there are two aspects to this. One is you play with integrity and with sincerity, whatever is taught. But eventually, every kalakar wants someone to listen or someone to be there to appreciate it, right? Now, so one is, how do you maintain that integrity? And the second is, if the audience doesn't have a reference point to know what is good and what is great, so then what is the whole deal about being pure?
See, when I talk about elders not being there for nonsense, I mean, it's always like a help, when there is someone who's a very profound musician, and if he tells you something, please pay attention to this detail. It clears up years of work for you. I mean, that is what I miss. I mean, I feel in front of my father or some uncle, I am definitely playing nonsense, because I feel to reach that, it will take a million years probably. But the seed has been given to every student. And when my father passed away, he said that I have taught everybody everything I know. Now it is up to them to do it. Jo kare, so uski vidya. The person who does it, it will be his. He says, I cannot make a musician out of anybody. They know the path. The guru is just a margadarshak. He just wants someone who shows the path. They have to walk the path. So you have to walk the talk now. So that is what keeps us going. And over the years, because you have been quite patient, I won't say totally patient, you understand that all these things that have been taught to you are slowly, they are blossoming. So, and even if the older audience is not there, at times you meet newer people with whom you have interactions, you have discussions about your work, they talk about their work, and you meet at a certain level, and you understand that this person understands a certain quality of nuance that you know about, and that's how you share your work. So it keeps it alive that way. If the audience is finding it difficult, I think the first thing is just to listen to it without expecting anything from it. As a small boy, I used to go to concerts, just sit and listen. And I used to ask which rag it is. My father said, doesn't matter. Just listen to what is going on first. How do you like it? Then I'll tell you what rag it is not important. See if you can see the musician's journey in his work. How do you feel about it? That is what the work is about. When he is playing the music, he's not playing music. He's talking about a certain part of his journey of his life. Or he's experiencing something and he's sharing that experience with you. Do you see that in the work? So the audience will just go and listen, I feel. In a few years, they'll start connecting the dots. I mean, some people ask me, how do we understand classical music? I said, 2 years, you listen to it, then come and talk to me. So I met a couple of people who don't understand music, who are totally out of tune, who could not place the name of a rag or even identify the scale of a rag. But when someone plays a rag, they will say, this is a rag. I said, how do you know? He said, this movement is there. It's a very fun movement. It goes up and down and twists. This rag. I feel always, I see it in this rag. Then I know this is rag. I said, fine. So, the word there is rag, swaroop, the soul of the rag. If you can identify that soul of the rag, it takes time. The other easiest method is to open a book and read all the rags and this is that. But what happens is that sometimes I feel is knowing takes away the experience of the unfolding before your eyes. So anubhav or the experience which is happening there and there comes with the anubhuti, which is a kind of permission of the divine grace to understand something. And in good time, you understand good things. Not everything is to be understood at the same time. Maybe it might sound too spiritual, but I think the Indian psychology, the Indian subcontinent is exactly living on this, the idea of spread and understanding of way of life.
I have two questions. One small kissa. In fact, I was listening to one Kumar Gandharva's interview online, and one of the audience member asked him, how do I identify gharanas? And he said, wow, खूप चांगला प्रश्न आहे, असं करा, खूप ऐका. That's it. Like, just keep listening.
Yeah.
Right? That's how you
You have to find how you can hook yourself into that thing and what is special to you. Then that retains with you for a lifetime. It's not the same when someone else tells you. It has to touch you. You have to understand and you say, this is a part. Then when you talk to somebody else about it, you have something to say about it. Not what somebody else has said about it.
Since it's a journey of the artist itself, I don't want to, I will get into philosophy, but do these legends, if we may call them, then feel alone, because then they have, or how do they see the light? Or refine karna hai, what goes? And this can obviously, this question itself is
good musicians are definitely alone. They might have 1,000 people around them, but when they're with their work, they're definitely alone. There is nobody with them. There's nobody who can take their hand and draw them, and there is nobody who can support. Somebody will say, "Wow, wo bhi acha hai." Somebody will say, "Bahut, very bad." That is also good. You have to maintain doing the work you like to do. So musicians are I can say lone rangers, absolutely, and because the idea of music comes somewhere from the idea of miniature painting. It is related. There is the idea of spread, where you walk into a canvas and you keep on roaming. You keep on exploring. It's like looking at the horizon. You can never judge where it is, but you can keep on walking towards it. You keep on walking back and see how big it is. With the two hills, then it becomes small, So it is a very exploratory thing. So once the musicians start going into that, then they leave back everything. I mean, my father used to say, I remember, he says, if you're doing a practice, be immersed in it. If someone dies, tell him die. When I finish my practice, I will get up and then I will look into you. This is what most of the music, I know certain tabla player also from Banaras Gharana. His son passed away. He was doing his riyaz and they opened the door and told him, "Aapke beta guzar gaya." Bole, sab tayari karo. Make all the preparations, the bamboo and everything. And he continued to do his riyaz and he got up. It's for outside world it might look a little bit insensitive, but the word for it is dhyan in a way. I think you are submerged in a thought and you don't want to get out of it until you resolve something. Because if you leave it that moment, you never know when it's going to come back. there is no guarantee of that it's going to ever going to come back. If you resolve with something, then the problems are going to arise. There will be economical problem, there will be social problem, there will be family problem.
Yeah.
And if you get up at that moment, I know it's gone. And a whole lot of musicians know it's gone. But it doesn't fit sociologically at all.
Correct.
You know?
That's why these maybe alone also.
Yeah, that's why they're alone. And he is searching for a refinement, because it is again like the Indian philosophy. Once something is made, you have to destroy it. You know, you begin with akar, with shape, and you go into nirakar, go into shapelessness.
Correct.
So once you have completed something, you destroy it, and you begin again on the basis of the experience of the first one. You start rebuilding something much more beautiful. Last time it was this time I'll build it again like this. So that's why we have that, we have Brahma, Vishnu and Mahesh. So creator, sustainer, destroyer. Then again creator, sustainer, destroyer. And this, probably it becomes much more easier in the work of music than in any other field, because the gains are much different, even though they can be economical in a sense, but you can't apply them. No? Like if I pull a note, you can't say this is 2 rupees and this is 15 rupees. Or I cannot say why I'm asking for such amount in a concert. Somebody will say huge amount, somebody will like somebody and just go up and play for free. And there is no compromise on the work. So you cannot attribute money actually to the music. You cannot attribute a certain kind of gain that gives returns to the music. The word for it is na murad. Neither you can give it something, nor you can take anything from it.
Beautiful. And so yeah, like from my understanding, one tip which I've got, and correct me if I'm wrong here. So the way you said ki you have to observe the artist's evolution. So same happens with paintings also, right?
Yeah.
You keep looking at the painter's work. You just don't buy one day like Degas ka painting लाके डाल दिया घर में. ऐसा नहीं होगा. You have to follow how he grew and then
That is important, because then I know the journey. You know, like what has it? I mean, because there are times he doesn't want to play concert, and he'll be in a situation he has to play concert. So you have to give him that thing. Okay, fine. It doesn't come down below a certain level. You have a certain expectation of a certain level. It doesn't come down, but there are times when it will be excellent, and sometimes it will be lesser and more and less and more. Just like the breath in the body, more, it will be less, and you're breathing, that's why you're alive. If it's constant and everywhere it's constant, then I feel something is stuck. Then he's doing something every time.
He's performing, he's not performing.
He's just playing a circus with his craft. I mean, he knows how to enthrall the audience. But he has somewhere he has to go beyond a point, and you have to be able to say, yeah, this was something. So in the entire concert, if you can take away one instance where it has touched you, I think it's worth it. Because he's a human being. Every artist is a human being. He'll do good and he'll make mistakes. Point is how he's converting those mistakes into the beautiful things. And that is where you enjoy the thing. Or sometimes he goes to say something which you cannot imagine. And how did he even say this? How is this possible? The ascharya has to be created all the time. If the ascharya is not being created, then as an artist to look at other artists, it's very difficult.
Actually, these are full of quotes. So one more quote, and which nicely ties to the learning aspect of a particular artist. So you said, you mentioned like learning is not just a technique. It has to be like a part of life.
Yeah.
So again, with this, I can see few shishyas around. So how do you, to again loosely put, is Guru Shishya still prevalent in music, and how do students come and
see? Guru Shishya will always be prevalent in music. Even the people who have had PhD degrees have had some guru. And without learning with them for many years, they have not been able to concert. What happens in the institution? In first year, you learn 25 rags. Before even you imbibe them and understand them, next year you have 40 rags. So here what the Guru is doing, Guru Shishya Parampara, he's watching you. It's not what you're learning, it's what you're doing with what you're learning and what you're doing with your life. So if someone is playing, you can see the nature of that person, what he's thinking. So get him back, chalo, focus on your work. If his mind is straying something, you are waiting to see if he's making a mistake, if he's recovering from that mistake, if he's making an effort to recover from the mistake. If he's going way too far, then you push him inside. He's under observation all the time. For many times with our ustads, we would just be sitting with them for days. Neither they would pick up the instrument, nor they would allow us to pick up the instrument. Just sit down. And no talk, no philosophy, no music, nothing. Just sit with him quietly. We'll talk about cement, building, politics, this happened, that something happened, then there was this joke. Somewhere something is being shared between the Guru and the Shishya. You have to open their minds. You have to remove the fear out of it. You have to be able to tell them, open your minds and share with everything you have. The basic thing about music is if you don't give everything you have, even in music, the newer things will not flow in. So in life, they have to start living this thing. Ek hai to de do, do aayenge. But it's very hard to believe. Ki ye bhi chhut gaya. They say a bird in the hand is worth two in the bush. It doesn't apply to music somehow. You have to be able to, danat is the word, to be able to express freely, to give freely.
Sorry to interrupt, but यहाँ पे I would also like to add कि I read somewhere long time back, maybe in 6th, 7th standard, कि when you give away, you are again empty.
Yes.
So the idea is to again
exactly
fill it.
That's the whole thing.
Yeah.
The empty, you have to, because the vessel is not for holding the thing, the vessel is to take, because the gush of the river could be so much, so the vessel has to be that strong. So you have to be able to take it, process it and give it to. Yeah. When you give it in a probably gentler form. So that is one thing. The next thing is to change their swabhav, the way they think about, how does a musician think about things? What does he wear? How does he eat? Because he's going to sit with 10 different kinds of people he'll be sitting in the palace, he'll be sitting in a small parchment somewhere, he'll be sitting on the road somewhere. So how do you interact with the entire, and how you don't change, because you should not get deterred by the, because it's a palace, are you going to play better music? Or you get that tamak jhamak, if it gets into your eyes or into your head, your work is done. You have to keep your work unaffected at all costs. So I have to observe them, how they are growing, what they are doing, what they are saying, how are they doing, how are they perceiving. It doesn't matter, one takes longer, other takes slower to learn. But it's like building up a small tree, you water, you put little this thing. There is a window when the student is open in mind. You wait for that window to happen, then you drop one thing, and then that takes effect. Otherwise, you keep on pouring it down, nothing will happen to him. Like Nanak used to say, Gurumukhi comes from the person who says it, he has to be understanding. Because the Guru has to say when the student's window is open. If he keeps on telling, hey, isko karo, keep on doing this, it's not going to work. You have to wait for the time when the window is open, you put in something, and it starts working.
Wow.
So teaching is a very patient thing. Similarly, I would say learning is a very patient thing. You have to keep on doing. Because when we were also learning for many years, we didn't see anything. There was no up and there was no down. It was like a bottomless pit. You were inside a vacuum chamber where everything was dark. There was no hope. And this is not even my first 7 years. I'm talking about my first 15 years. And it's always asked my ustad, where is it going? Is it going forward or is it going backward? I don't know where I am. He says, you don't need to know. You just need to do your work. I said, how can I do? He said, you have vishwas, you have faith in your Guru. I said, yes. Then just do it. It will blossom one day. So, we just carried with it. I mean, that's what we try to do with this in the Guru Shishya. It's a very taxing way of learning. I mean, but at least at the end, what happens? Wherever they reach, everyone becomes a winner, and they have something to enjoy with the work. They should not feel, at the end of it, they should not feel that they have been unsuccessful in life. For that, there is a litmus test in the beginning, that you tell them you do the scales and you do it for this period of time. If the scales improve, it's fine. He gets interested in it, or if he runs away straight away. So at the mouth, you have to decide whether this person will do it or no. Otherwise, he has wasted his life. And for them, they have to be just wait and listen, and which is difficult because they want to learn. They come here to acquire some knowledge. They think they'll fill it and they will go. But it is normally not the case. It doesn't happen. Even if they take it, they won't have any use of it.
I'd gone to one Vipassana thing, and where he, like Mr. Goenka, the SN Goenka, who's the, he said that there were he gave two situations. One is where the robber wants to rob, so he puts a knife. And the other situation is like a doctor wants to heal the wound, so he puts a knife. And in both instances, both die.
Yeah.
So both are not going to go to hell.
Yeah.
Like the intent is important, right?
Yeah.
So maybe while you're learning also, what is the intent? Is it to go earn money and perform at big concerts?
Intent
or is
is
it
very
to learn
important.
The craft itself?
Yes. The intent of the student has to be shaped. If the intent goes wrong, then he's going to go downhill definitely.
Correct. Sir, actually, like my interviews in AudioGAN are typically more to objectively document, but I can't resist. If you can share what was your like early days and now Riyaz routine, just to inspire.
In the early days, I used to do quite a lot of Riyaz. Because
but like 10 or like 20 hours?
No, not 10, 20 hours. I was 5-6 hours at a stretch. Because Veena, this particular Veena is a very heavy instrument. It's something like the Sarod sitar you can play for a lot of time, but this you can't do for more than 5 to 6 hours. And your back goes and your fingers get blunt. So it's really taxing. But I had to do that for two reasons. One is to understand the craft. Another is to have make a habit of at least sitting down for long hours. Suppose you have to do 3-hour concerts, then what do you do? So these were two basic things. Now as time goes, I do less amount of riyaz. I try to balance the riyaz in a manner that it doesn't become too much technical, or I don't go below a certain bar that I cannot play it. So I have to maintain that balance, because I don't want that superfluous thing also in the hand, that you're able to play everything, not feel anything. So now I balance it. At this point in age, I would say 2 hours of riyaz is good for me. It will keep me. And then riyaz also includes a whole lot of thinking. So my father says, if you, both the ustad would say actually, if you learn the size of a small rai dana, then you practice,
5 kg.
About your hand's extent, and you think the size of a room. That much thinking you have to do. You have to think about how you want to place the things. So the more you resolve in your mind, the clearer the picture of what you want to do, the better you'll be able to. It's like perceiving a color and putting that color. So once you perceive that particular red, what tone of red, then you're able to apply that color. The same thing in music.
Interesting. Again, I'll tell the listeners that it's clear that we are sitting here on ground, and all the Shishya and Sir has been in the same position for 2 hours, and I've changed at least 8 positions. Sir, I would like to conclude with one last question. Again, in one of your interviews, you said we cannot compromise with the instruments' rituals, even if we die of hunger.
Yeah.
Now that's a very, very passionate claim. So where does this passion come from? And I would like to conclude with this note itself, because that's hoping that this will be
No, see, the passion comes from being in love. It's what our gurus taught us, is how to be in love with this work. Not to do this because you're a musician's son, not to do it because it has an amazing sound, but it is basically an art. How to fall in love with the art and to be with that art is a lifetime's work, you know. It is not about surrendering. It's about understanding that you can spend your lifetime with this. The moment I heard a whole lot of things and I realized what is endlessness in a manner, I wanted to do something in my life which didn't have a beginning, didn't have an end. And then I had a guru in front of me, and this music, which my father said, to be a musician is the best thing, you see, because you can even face a wall and you can play your music. You don't require an audience, and it will still be yours. See, you can spend a lifetime with it. And he convinced me on that in various methods, through playing, not just mentally. And he made me see how beautiful it is. Once you see how beautiful it is, you're caught in it. So the question of hunger doesn't rise, because many times my father would be playing at home, and then he would get up, or he would be teaching, and my mother would say, okay, the table is laid out there now. And my father said, yes, coming 2 minutes, and he would pick up the veena, and we would shut the shop for food, 1 o'clock, and he would be playing the veena for some time. We would sit, and after he's played the veena, another half an hour, people would be just sit engrossed in it. Then somebody said, अभी खाते हैं, बोले हाँ चलो खाते हैं, और my father said, चलो खाना खा लेते हैं, भूख लगी, इतना बजवा लिया. So, you know, I'm not talking that it is a kind of sacrifice that you have to do. I wouldn't use the word sacrifice. Saying that I have sacrificed would be saying too much. I know the meaning of sacrifice is too big in life. But I know that it holds a part of me in such attention that I don't really care about anything else. And I can't say this like I'm proud of it, but this is just the way it is. It just pulls you in. You know, it is with great humility I have to say that one becomes a part of this work. You cannot claim to be that you're sacrificing anything.
Actually, I was just thinking how to conclude this with, because madness, crazy, all these have some different connotation. Weird lagle kamacho, we can conclude.
No, but the
with
word
this.
for this is bavla. Yeah, so like bavra or bavla. So Sufis and Peers were bavras because they lost themselves in their work. It's what music does to you. You lose for the time being sense of time. You might even forget where you're sitting. Sometimes you wonder, where am I sitting? You forget which city you're in. It happens to a lot of people. I mean, but I think it's the best thing to happen to anybody when you can lose yourself for some time. And this medium allows you direct. That's why they say it's closest to God, because you lose yourself much easier.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
And that's it from today's Gyan session. Catch us on iTunes, Saavn, Stitcher, or any podcasting app you use. Do rate us on iTunes and follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Stay tuned for more Gyan on audiogyan.com. Till then, bye.